Welcome to today's episode. My guest is Kevin Herrera, a stand-up comedian and a baseball cap-wearing, smack-talking social media personality, garnering many millions of views across Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. He can often be found expressing his marital woes to his wife Nikita, showing the realities of normal life in his house on Long Island. He does it in a way that never feels repetitive or corny, that's always entertaining to watch, which is super rare these days. I've never interviewed a comedian, so I'm excited and nervous. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, Kevin, all the way from New York.
Yeah.
This is really cool that it worked out that you could come here today.
Yeah. No,
I didn't think you were going to say yes.
No, I told you I'd make it. I just didn't know what day. It's just been crazy, this whole leg of the tour.
No, but I mean in general, because we have very different audiences because of the kind of stuff you do and I do. But thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
What are some things you've noticed about LA, like off the bat, that are either great, irritating, insufferable?
I like LA. I think it's obviously the weather is beautiful. It's very different in New York. I mean, similar with traffic, but other than traffic, I mean, unfortunately, we haven't been able to really,
See anything yet?
Yeah. I've been so busy.
You just got here.
I go back to the hotel. I go to sleep. I wake up. We go to, what is it?
Erewhon.
Erewhon,
What did you feel about Erewhon? Just overpriced?
Overpriced and ridiculous. Grass-fed beef. And my opener is just.
Yeah.
He's like, look at this. It's perfect. $25 for 3 pieces of steak. It's 3 small. I'm like.
Do you eat healthy at home? Like, are you a super healthy eater or not at all?
I mean, I try to eat at a home cooked meal every day, so I try not to eat bullshit. But for the most part, I feel like I'm fairly healthy. I drink a lot more water now, which I feel like is more important.
That's a new influence.
Yeah, I used to be a big soda drinker, which was horrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah. When I see sodas now, I'm like, people still drink that, but apparently they really do.
Yeah. I was probably legitimately addicted to Coca-Cola. I drank.
What time in the morning would you start?
For lunch, I'd probably have a Coke, and then dinner, I'd probably have a Coke, and then maybe one in between. But it was horrible.
But nothing before lunchtime.
No. I wasn't waking up, 7
so you're
in the
not
morning, like I really need a Coke,
Right.
But I do need coffee first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I like it light and sweet, as you know.
Well, I just found out I got your coffee order.
Yeah.
Do you think Bobbi Altoff, that girl who talks in the monotone, do you think she's an industry plant?
I don't know, man. I think she's gotten obviously very lucky. Look, there's not a ton of people who would have the ability to get the biggest talent entertainers in the world.
But I'd never heard of her.
No,
and then she was getting like Drake. So I think that's where people have some of their questions about it, because like I get you see people have A-list celebrities on their podcast, but they've been at this a very long time. No one had ever heard of her. Had you heard of her?
No, I never heard of her, but I saw her. She did a couple podcasts before Drake, and I think the people she did them with connected her with Drake, and and it was something different. It was like this dry humor.
But it's that. I was actually just scared and just like start talking like that and just see how you react. Just absolutely deadpan.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd be so uncomfortable. I wouldn't know how to act. If she was like, because she's very like, what?
I know.
I'd be like, I can't do
because you'd have to really, it's like what we were just, before we went on air, we were just talking about how hard it is to do either podcasts or when you're doing solo things and you don't have the feedback from the crowd.
No, it's hard. It's brutal. I don't know how anybody does it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it personally. I've tried it. I've tried to do a podcast by myself.
And?
In like my spare bedroom, I set up a camera and
I love that.
Oh, I tried. I did like a mock episode and I was like,
what's the flow? Like, were you just like talking about like pop culture, current events, and just like weighing in on shit?
Because I don't know what else to do. Like, you know what I mean? So you pull up a bunch of topics and you're like, all right, I'll talk about this shit. And it was brutal. Because then you after a while you have like nothing to talk about. So you're just sitting there.
I tried it once and it was so terrifying and I hated it. It exists, but like, and when people say I listened to your song, like, please don't. I want to scrap it.
Yeah. No, I need the dialogue, otherwise I'm fucked.
So you talk about this in your comedy somewhat, but just tell me a little bit about like how you grew up, where you come from. Big family, small family, obviously Latino.
Yeah, so my mother is Colombian. Okay. My father's Puerto Rican. I didn't grow up with my father. I met him when I was 9, 10 years old. So it was mostly just me and my mother. She eventually got married to my stepfather.
Were you an only child?
I was the only child up until that point. My brother and sister were born when I was 12 years old. They were twins.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So definitely big Colombian family. Like back then at least. Now it's, you know how family drama could be. You know what I mean? Now we
People
don't hang
broke
out
off.
with anybody. Yeah,
Of the nucleus.
But back then, it was big Thanksgivings, big Christmases. It was really cool.
Rowdy.
Yeah, and it was I guess I had a fairly normal-ish childhood. You know what I mean?
Right. Because your comedy's kind of all over the place, but I don't know. I see a little bit online here and there, but now I have been privy to your live show, which everybody absolutely has to go find you somewhere in the country.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about like family experience, which is great.
Yeah.
Because you're able to just.
Yeah, I talked about, when I first got offered to start doing stand-up. At first, I was petrified. I didn't want to do it. I had my agent,
Well, how did you get offered to do? Like, how did it come about?
Agent JJ, he's no longer my agent, but he works for 33 and West. Amazing guy. He had called me and was like, "Hey man, like my wife showed me your podcast. I think you're hilarious, and I think you should do a live show."
So that podcast didn't go as bad as he thought.
No, but I remember being like, "Yeah, all right, bro, cool.
Right.
Like I'll call you back." And I went home. I told my wife, and she was like, "You got to do it. Like you've been." And I was like, "I'm not doing this. Like there's no way. I'm not hopping on stage. I've never been on stage before. It's absolutely not happening." So then the next day,
what were you doing for work at the time?
I was a cop.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
so
a
very
cop for
different
7 years.
than comedy.
Yeah. So like, I had my job. I was doing my skits and everything, and I was growing on social media, but I still had my full-time job. Life was the same. You know what I mean? I was scared to kind of venture out. And then 2 days later, Joe Coy has a show, and he invites me to his show. We had spoken on Instagram a few times, and he was like, "Hey, bro, I'm a big fan of your stuff. I have a show in Long Island at UBS Arena. You should come by."
Okay, but wait. You're getting ahead of yourself because you're a cop, you're working as a cop, and all these people are seeing your material. Where are they seeing your material? You obviously, there was something in the middle. So you started taking to the internet when?
Yeah, so that happened probably a little bit before the pandemic. I started making videos.
Okay.
And I kind of just fell in love with the process. It was like an outlet for me that was something different away from being a cop. Because I knew I no longer wanted to be a cop. I honestly never wanted to be a cop.
Right.
I think in New York, a lot of people, you'll ask police officers, and they'd be like, "Why do you do it?" And they're like, "Oh, to protect and serve." But the reality is a lot of people do it, especially in the neighborhoods we're from, because you want a pension.
Right.
And you want a stable job. And that's what your parents tell you. Take tests. Take your tests. Put it in. Somebody will call you. You want a stable job. And that is the majority of people. But, the cliche answer is, I want to protect and serve.
Yeah.
The reality is you want a normal life.
Yeah.
You want to be able to provide for your kids, and it's a stable job.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it. I took the test. I got in. I was thankful for it. I was able to, buy my house in Long Island and take care of my kids, which was,
huge.
super dope for me.
Hell yeah.
I was in a better place than my parents were. You know what I mean? So it allowed me to do something more for my kids. But I had known that it just wasn't something I wanted to do.
Right.
And I always felt like that my whole life, like I was searching. So every job I had, I was like, this is it. This is the thing that's gonna make me, fulfill me and make me feel good. And then after, a couple years, you're like, I feel terrible and I want something different.
Did you always know you were funny?
Yeah.
Because something must have told you or someone or your own inner knowing to start making videos. Because, not everybody goes from, I need a creative outlet to, I'm going to just, do internet shit.
Yeah.
So you must have known you were funny.
No, I mean, you hear it from your friends and, you're hilarious, bro. You should do stand-up or whatever, and then, the creativity portion of it, it just allowed me to, it was an outlet for me, but it was awkward because, especially in the beginning, you put out videos and the only people who are seeing it are your friends and family, and everybody is not supportive, and they're just like, "What are you doing, bro?" You're putting
It's
out
so
these
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
It's horrible.
It's horrible.
Everyone judges you. I mean, and
in
now,
the worst way.
You fast forward 4 years, and now it's like, "You're amazing, bro."
I know him. He's my cousin.
Yeah.
He's my cousin.
He's so amazing.
We were actually really close growing up. We hung out all the time.
Yeah, and he works so hard. And I remember in the beginning, these same people were
couldn't even get the likes.
Yeah, you're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm begging my family. I'm like, "Hey, can you like it and share it, please? I'd appreciate it." You know what I mean?
I'll never forget there was a point when I was and obviously I don't do the internet to the extent you do, but my son's dad called me my ex and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Why are you talking mad shit on the internet? What are you doing that for?" And I was like, I stopped him and I was like, I don't know, but like, I just like it.
Yeah.
I want to talk mad shit on the internet.
Well, as long as you're being authentic and you're being yourself, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's where a lot of people get embarrassed. Like, people ask me,
You're like,
dude,
why?
yeah, you put out this shit about your family and whatever, and then I'm like, dude, but that's real life. You know what I mean? And that's why people fuck with me and they like me because they understand that I'm putting out things that are authentic to my life and they can relate to. You know? And I don't think there's anything embarrassing about that.
Your content's heavily relatable in a way that, like, I think a lot of people don't allow that side of their life. Like, you have an interesting thing in that there's no airs. Like, there's no nonsense. It's like whatever you're experiencing, we're experiencing with you. I mean, obviously, I know there's a comedic twist and there's timing and edit, but you're showing us inside your house and your life, your wife and your kids.
And you're talking about the taboo things in society that most people don't want to talk about. So, but it's cool because in the beginning when you do it, you're not really sure, right? I mean, I'm not really sure. I'm like, all right, I'm going to put this shit out, but I really hope other people are this crazy because if they're not, I'm gonna look like an asshole. So you put it out and then then you see like fairly quickly that like people are like, they're like, holy shit, this is me and my wife, or this is, you know what I mean? And it feels good because most of the content that's out there is very cookie cutter.
It's so, well, mine basically.
No, I mean yours is your life. This is your authentic life. I think other couples though, they'll go out and they'll they make these videos of like I'm perfect and it's funny and they make whereas my videos, me and my wife are arguing, we're cursing and you know what I mean? And it's just a little bit more taboo.
I mean, I have so many cards in here about Nikita because she's the unsung hero of the Only Raising Kings franchise. Yeah. Does she know that?
Yeah, she definitely knows
she's
that.
like,
I think she
Kevin,
just,
this is mine.
Yeah. I think it's a cool dynamic because it's like, obviously I write all my skits. All my skits are written. So I'll write her portions too, But it's all based in reality. It's all based on things she has said to me or whatever, so I'll write
it. Imitating life.
Yeah, and and I'll ask her, I'll be like, listen, if you want to change something up, you let me know. And we kind of go over. But it's funny because when I do the videos with her, I'm very hard on her.
I wonder because you're kind of a performer now and you've honed that skill. I guess she has also. Yeah. But like it's different for her. Yes. Because she's in some ways like the supporting character. Yes. Yeah. But actually in many ways.
Yeah. Well, people love her, but that's all done on purpose.
The show can't work without her.
Right. Well, but the good thing is like people want more and of her, and that's like all on purpose. Yeah. You know what I mean? I give you just enough. Exactly. 'Cause here's the reality. Right. So the reality is like if you get enough, then it starts to not be as good. You know what I mean?
So that's actually in my intro. I find like a lot of social media born comedians. Yeah. And there's a distinction there, as you know, because to be born from social media comedy is different than to come up on the scene, right? Okay. A lot of them, they just burn out so quickly. They're funny. They ride the wave. They get tons of subscribers, followers, and then it's like a fast, or maybe even for me, but I think in general, this is like, it goes, it's too much too fast, and it's also too much of the same.
And you're oversaturated and you stress yourself out. And that's the thing I tell people, like, listen, in the beginning, I posted a lot. But as I got bigger, I would slow down a little bit more. Because the reality is, look, people can get sick of anybody. It doesn't matter how good it is. If they get too much of you, it almost, so I try to really take my time, come up with shit that's really creative, and not oversaturate my brand because you can really crush yourself. There's no longevity in that. And I think a lot of these guys, especially the new comedians that are popping up that maybe have been doing comedy for a long time. Yeah. But they'll get on social media and now they're finally getting some growth from their clips. So they'll just put all the clips.
They hammer.
And I'm like, bro, calm down because you're going to oversaturate yourself. And ticket sales would be really dope maybe this whole year. Yeah. But eventually people are going to get sick of you. And it doesn't matter what's coming out of your mouth. It's the same shit every time.
It's just it's the too much of the talking head. Yes. I know even if there's too many dots on my story and it's my face, I'm like, you done too much. Yeah, it's too much face. Yeah. But I think you strike like a really good balance. So, okay, that's good to know that so do you make Nikita do like 1 million cuts? Yes. And does she get sick of you?
Yes. But that works. That works, right?
The more angry she is.
Yeah, she's more agitated, because in the very beginning, she's always very like, Kevin, did you and I'm like, no, I'm like, that's not angry enough, like I need angry. And
do you goad her on purpose just to like get her?
Yeah, sometimes I'll try to get her, and I'm like, she'll get frustrated because I'll be like, babe, come on, you're not, and she's like, oh my God,
this
Kevin.
is why you're the supporting character.
And I'll be like, this is perfect, just like this. You're angry, just like this. I need you to stay this way,
Yeah.
So it's I kind of, but that's it's the teamwork we have where I'm able to like kind of I have to draw this shit out of her, because I'll tell her to curse sometimes. I'll be like, listen, you have to say, like, shut the fuck up. And she's like, I don't want to curse. I'm like, you have to curse. Like, okay, because that's what you would do if we were really in argument, so you need to curse. And she's like, oh, I don't want to.
Do you get so much feedback about people being like, thank you so much just for like representing what normal life is, how normal people live, how normal people talk to their kids, their spouses? Like, do you get a lot of appreciation for that?
Yeah. No, people write some really dope stuff to me, man. Like, a lot of times, I'll read some. I mean, look, you get haters too, but
is it 50-50? What's your hate to love ratio?
I'd say 70-30 love, but
30% hate?
But that 30% is
vile.
Yeah.
Radical?
Well, it's all people with fake profiles and really, deliberately taking time out of their day to really tell you about yourself, of what they've learned from your videos. Like, hey, I just wanted to know you're a piece of shit. And
is that like, what's like the worst thing someone said to you? Did they tell you you're like abusive and stuff?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm used to that.
Right.
But I think the worst is when the person knows you. So like I'll get DMs from like a fake profile, and it'll be like very specific about like my life and like.
So they know you and they're jealous.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that it's someone you know. You don't know who. I mean, you'll have guesses, but that's frustrating for me because it's just like, fuck, man. Like, I know you. Like, who are you? And you're taking time out of your day to really try to crush me and say shit that's like super personal.
But you use your like haters as like your mode. Like you make content about it, so it's good.
Yeah, it helps.
So you're doing your thing. You're uploading some content. It's going well. The pandemic, I'm sure, gave you. Because you were started right before the pandemic?
Yeah, I started right before the pandemic, but my growth, I had like zero growth for close to maybe like 7-8 months. But I had fell in love with making the videos, so I just kept putting them out. Yeah. You know what I mean? I kept writing, I kept putting them out, and then a year later, you get to like 100,000 followers. You're like, oh, this is cool, man. Like, this is on TikTok first, obviously, and then it took about 3-4 years for that real transition of like, okay, people know you to like people really know you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You started on TikTok first?
I started on TikTok first. Okay. Yeah, and then I eventually went to Instagram, because back then the Instagram was much harder.
I know.
It's hard now too. It's still very hard.
I'm like, it's hard.
But with the Reels, it's for my kind of content.
TikTok,
Reels helps now. But back then there was no Reels.
It was TikTok.
Yeah, it was
your whole format's like TikTok.
And Instagram, if you wanted like growth, you had to get on their, discover page, which was very difficult. You know what I mean? And you wouldn't get a ton of followers. But now it's much better, and no, it's been a slow, gradual growth. I think a lot of people will be like, yo, what was the video that did it? And I'm like, bro, I've been making videos for 4 years, man. Yeah. It wasn't one video, it's 1,000.
It never is. And like, I think it's such a good reminder, truly, like how long, like you're uploading to nothingness for a while, and you feel like such an idiot.
Yeah, you're getting 20 views, and it's like your boys from work, like dickhead, and in the comments you're like, all right, man, cool. That's how.
Yeah, Monday, Steve.
Yeah.
There was no Steves where you grew up.
No Steves.
All right, so people start seeing your shit. You get an agent. You get a manager.
I get no manager, but I had got an agent.
Okay.
And he wanted to give me the opportunity. And then I told him no, and then Joe Coy invited me out to UBS Arena, and he brought me backstage, and we were talking, and he was like, "Are you doing comedy?" And I was like, "Oh, I gave him the very generic, like, I'm working on it, And he looked at me, he was like, "Bro, like, don't be a bitch, like, you need to do it, like, you be funny, like, just do it." I remember taking that as like a sign. I was like, all right, the agent called me yesterday. Joe Coy's telling me to do stand up.
How old were you at the time?
This was last year.
Oh. Okay, so how old are you now?
I'm 33. So I was 32.
God, so young.
So it was just crazy because I called the agent the next day and I was like, hey, man, like every fiber in my body was telling me not to do this. But I was like, hey, let's do it. Like, let's do. He's like, all right, perfect. We'll do your first show in the city, 175 people, and you have 6 months to come up with 45-minute set. And luckily, I wasn't really familiar with
How would you
stand-up.
even know? Yeah, like making a 45-minute set.
I thought that was normal. I figured like, okay, like that's a full show.
That's
like that makes sense.
That was last night, right? It was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of content.
It's a lot of content. But luckily, like, ignorance is bliss. So I had no idea. So I'm like, all right, like I'll talk about my life.
Yeah.
And I remember like preparing like a psychopath, like OCD, going in my basement, staring at the wall like a crazy person.
So how does one practice? Like, so you write the thing and then how do you practice it? How do you know it's good?
I write it. So I'll write it and get like a brief idea. And then I'll go over it in my head over and over. And then I'll usually do voice notes and I'll say it.
And hear it back to
myself. And usually as I'm saying it, I'll change things, add things or whatever. And then once you have it down packed, now it's just like, okay, now we have to add another piece and another piece, another piece. And now you're just memorizing over and over and over. It's the only way it works for me. I know some comedians say they just...
Like, what if you get nervous and you don't remember what you're supposed to be saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing. But you kind of just got to, like, at the end of the day, all eyes on you. You got to figure it out. Like,
did you nail it right away?
Yeah. It was, and I know it sounds like
because
ridiculous.
So many people bomb. Many times.
I had went up there assuming I was going to eat shit in front of all these people who were waiting for me to eat shit. Most of them, they were friends. Did
the first crew come out because they already knew you? Like, was it
It was. I would say it was about. I want to say like 100 people bought tickets who were fans, and I'd probably say 75 were friends of family. Yeah. But part of that 75 that were friends and family, like a majority of them just wanted to see me eat shit. Like it wasn't like they were there to be like
supportive.
Love you, man. It was more like, oh, I can't wait to see this. This is gonna be amazing, So I was like super, bro. I was shaking. I had a wireless mic. I'm in the green room, and they're like, oh, just turn it on when you're ready. Yeah, and I'm literally having a panic attack. And I remember walking out, and I just said, you know this, like just do it. Stare into the abyss and start speaking. Yeah. And I did. And I remember like 15, 20 seconds in, I got like the first laugh. Like I said my first joke and people laughed and I was like, oh shit. Like, okay, cool.
And it felt good.
It felt good and it opened me up a little bit. And then I just kind of went into like a trance of like, I felt right into it. And I'm sure if I watched it now, a year later, I'd be like, oh, that was terrible. But
maybe in
the moment, it was fantastic. And, everybody's coming up to you after.
Yeah.
My agent he was like, oh, it was amazing. And, he flew down from LA. So it was super cool. And
do you change your content often or you're using like...
I think I try to introduce new things. Yeah. Like every, couple shows and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're really just trying to iron out your
Do you still get nervous?
Oh, yeah. But it's a different nervous.
Right.
Like I was absolutely terrified in the beginning. Right. Now it's more like taking deep breaths and making sure you're going up there and you take control. Yeah.
I think for me, what I always look for in comedians, whether or not they're amazing or not, like what I think instantly disarms audiences is feeling the comedian's comfort or discomfort. And something that I think I definitely noticed on your Instagram, and it does translate to your in-person, is like you don't seem like you're very stressed about it at all. Yeah. You seem like what's that word? Non-plussed? I don't even know. But like, you don't look like you're sweating it. You don't feel like you're sweating it, I should say.
Yeah, but that's all skill too, right? Like, people are looking for those cues. Is he swallowing? Is he shaking? Right. How is he moving? And so that's like, and I've learned a lot of that from Nick, who travels with me, and he's been in the game for 8 years, so he's amazing, and he allows me to be like, I watch his cues of really taking your time and slowing down and maneuvering the way you would maneuver outside, and a lot of that is just calm down, take a breath, take a sip of water. Right. You could do it, and in the beginning you can't. You're like this and you don't move and you're trying to be comfortable and other people can't really tell. Right. Other people can't really tell, but you feel it. You're like, yeah, what's up, everybody?
Comedy is like honestly just fucking terrifying to me.
It's a tough
like what's outside of like maybe blazing fires, like what's more terrifying than like bombing or like standing up in front of a room full of people and they're like, make us laugh.
Yeah. There's no help. There's no help. No. It is you, dude. And it's like, there's no blame to put on anybody. you go up there and like you better do your thing because it's.
Does your family care that you make jokes about them and they don't give a shit?
Now, my mother initially was very worried. She was just like, "Don't say that shit." Like people.
My reputation.
Yeah, are you crazy? You know. And but then after going to the shows, she loves it because she realizes people laugh at it. She thought people were gonna be like, "Oh my god," but instead people were laughing and like relating to it. So for her now, she's like,
right.
Yeah, that's my son. Yeah.
And your mom where does she live now?
She lives in Long Island.
Okay. And your whole family's in Long Island still, or is everybody dispersed?
Oh, I got family all over the place now, but yeah, I'd say for the most part, my close family, a couple of them are in Westchester.
Okay, so everyone's New York.
Yeah, everyone's New York.
How do you? I guess this is the most appropriate time to ask this. What do you do psychologically, or how do you work on comedy when like nothing in your life feels funny, or like you're not in like that kind of mood, but like the show must go on? Like, how do you get yourself back in that space?
Really, I just I said, look, before every show I kind of just say a prayer, take a couple deep breaths, and just like you have no choice, like you have to do this. So it's like you can't really, you kind of just got to leave that shit somewhere else before you get on stage. And luckily my body like naturally does it, but if it didn't, like I don't know what I would do, because it people could feel that too, like if you go up there with a ton of baggage, right, people can tell. Like everyone's staring at you, there's a light on you, and they're like this, they could see everything and they're looking at everything.
Do you think people are waiting for you to fail? Or do you think people like genuinely want you to succeed?
I think there's both, really. Right. I think there's people who really want to see you succeed, and that's really cool, But I think it's only natural that you have those sets of individuals who, whatever it is, it's this natural feeling of like it's not fair. Like I want to, it's not fair, and you can't do this. Right. So like I want to see you fail. So yeah, there's a ton of people. I think that's natural, though. People love chaos. And
it's true.
People want to see you, like, fuck up or slip up. But the reality is, like, this whole industry is crazy because they wait for people to fuck up and people talk about it. But the people who are talking about it have done or do the same things.
Of course.
But it's just cool to be able to look at someone and be like, look at you, man. You're a terrible human being. And people are pretending. And it's like, dude, like, open your closet up and let us all take a look and throw your shit around. What do you do?
Did you, when you were like entering the comedy scene, were people super, like, were they cool with you? Like, for the most part,
No, I did. First of all, I do this. It's a very non-traditional route. The way I'm coming up, I think
it is a very non-traditional.
Yeah, I think. Well, now it's going to be traditional moving forward.
Right.
The reality is, and a lot of people probably hate that I say this. Agencies, no one's going to these comedy clubs to find the next guy.
No,
it's all on social media. Yeah. Right? And there's a lot of comedians who still
really don't like that. They fight that.
Well, yeah, because they want it to be.
Do they feel like it's cheating? Like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, but do it.
Right.
So you do it.
Right.
If it's cheating,
then do it the hard way.
Do social media, but you can't.
Right.
Because it's a different muscle. But instead of it admitting that like social media is hard and I haven't figured out a way to really tap in, instead it's like social media is bullshit and like he hasn't put in the work and he hasn't done this. But the reality is, are you selling tickets? A lot of these guys have this illusion of like the agent is just going to create fame for them. The agent is there to book.
Yeah.
So you get with a big agency, it doesn't matter. They're there to book shows.
Right.
If you can't sell tickets,
they can't do their job.
You're not generating business for these clubs. Nobody cares. So complain elsewhere, dude, because if you want to make it happen, you need social media. And I think a lot of these old school comedians, even some of the ones that I really love, that they came up a different way. And I don't want to say it's hard. Me personally, I believe it's harder. I think the other way is a little more
like
difficult.
Using social media, like a social media, building an audience on social media.
Off of social media, I think it's harder. Like the traditional way of like going to these clubs every Friday.
Wait, which way do you feel is harder?
Their way. The old school way. I think it's harder.
Yeah.
But I also think it's harder because social media has kind of come naturally to me.
Right.
But a lot of these people, they're funny on stage and they just can't recreate it on the internet.
Because it's the soundbite is a whole different art.
Yeah.
It's two arts.
Yeah.
Last night, you're telling a story. I would say, are you general story format? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so your format story is like you're the soundbite comedy is a whole different, I won't even say it's a different genre. It's a different kind of comedy. It comes in short bursts.
It's a different muscle.
And the story has to be 15, 30 seconds or 1 minute.
Yeah.
Versus last night, we had 45 minutes with you.
Right. You could take your time.
You took your time.
Yeah.
But it is hard. But I think people would be surprised to know that you wrote even the short sound bites online. You wrote that. You prepared it. It's the same as a show. It's like a show every day.
Yeah. And even the vlogs, you know, like I write everything.
Yeah.
And that's what people, and you know, I'm grateful that people are like, bro, these are amazing. Like, you know, a lot of people think it is like just me getting into a fight with my wife. Like I have a phone attached to my hand, you know, and I'm like, we're fighting.
Actually, I first thought when I started watching it that you were just always fighting.
Yeah,
like, these two need to get a divorce.
Yeah, I know. This is horrible.
And then I was like, oh, I see. Right.
Well, it's good, but that's a testament to like how good the skits are.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, people think it's real. So I'm like, perfect. That's what I want.
Right.
Because my goal is to have my own show and do all these things. And I need to show people like I could do this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am now. I'm very grateful for the position I'm in. I'm kind of just taking my time and hoping somebody will offer me an opportunity where I go write and create something cool.
Right.
You know?
Like a show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would like to, you know, me and Nick, we talk, you know, we're going to start creating a pilot and you know, I think it'd be really cool. It's really what I want to do.
Yeah,
you
know? Want to write comedy.
I want to write and I want to produce and I want to act. You know, that's what I want to do. And you know, because it's something as a kid, music and TV were my outlets. You know what I mean? And I want to do the same thing. You know. Yeah,
I love that. I mean, I could see you. I mean, you are an actor. Right?
Yeah, I think it's just different, right? Like I do it in the comfort of my home. So a lot of these people, they're like, you know, they'll say it's different.
Right.
It's different.
But it's actually not.
No, it's not. Look,
you're performing.
Yeah, it might take some getting used to. Like, look, the difference between doing it with you and your wife in the comfort of your home and doing it in front of 15 people with cameras and boom mics and yeah, obviously that's.
Does Nikita want that also? Does she want? No.
No, she doesn't want to do that. Well, because it's different for her. She's not an actress, right? Like, I produce this, I direct this, I pull this out of her. It's very different. You know what I mean? Like people are hilarious because people be in the comments like the stuff she says, she's just so hilarious. I'm like, yeah, it's because I wrote it. Thanks. And I appreciate it. But I don't say that. I'm like, thank you so much. Yeah, she's hilarious. She's so funny, but I made her do that 8 times. Yeah. But thanks so much. You know? But I don't want to break it. You know what I mean?
I'm of course. Don't break it.
But my wife, she's obviously way more comfortable now, and I just don't think it's something. I don't think she's not what she wants. Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna push her to be like, hey, you're gonna be an actress now.
Everybody wants that screen.
Yeah, and you know she's comfortable. She's not on camera. Yeah. Right. It's me holding my phone. You know, and I'm setting this up, and I'm doing it while she's cooking and this and whatever. I'm just taking. Hey, listen, I need you real quick. Look,
her life's not heavily disrupted.
Right.
You're doing a lot of the grunt, like the grunt work,
the background stuff. Right. You know what I mean? So like for her to. You know, if she wanted to try it, if she said like, yeah, I want to try this, I'd be like, for sure, like, let's do it. Like, come, let's try it out. But I think she could do anything she really wanted to do.
Yeah.
I just think initially, you know, you can't really tell these people like, hey, we're going to try my wife. Let's see what happens. Like for the first couple weeks, if she can't hack it, like we'll get somebody else. These guys are like, listen, like you're going to come ready. Yeah. You know, when you get that offer, it's not like, yeah, let's figure it out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But on the other hand, like if you're going to recreate a show and it's going to be a like couple show, I think you kind of have to have my wife. Yeah. You know, I think we have to kind of work around the fact of like, okay, like let's figure out her parts and kind of subsidize all this stuff.
So it'd be like loosely based on your life.
Yeah. No, I'd make it my life. Oh, you know, I'd like to make, I think my life is crazy enough where.
Your life is great. Your life is great content.
Yeah, I think it's crazy enough where I could really follow, you know, I guess it will be loosely based on life. You don't want people to know.
What do you,
everything.
What do you do? Have you ever bombed like really bad?
No, the worst show that I've had was in Boston. I had 2 shows.
That tracks.
First show.
Boston dudes are also like aggressive as hell.
It was also, we had a host that was just, it was terrible. And it was just me and the host, and he came out, and it was like, oh, it was so brutal. So when I walked in the room, all the energy was dead. Like, I remember like walking up, grabbing the mic, Boston, what the fuck is up? And it was like, and I was like,
God, the opener really does make or break it.
Yeah.
Because also, for the audience, and you know, I'm sure you've sat in comedy, if the person that you're watching is not funny, it's so uncomfortable. It's not even bad vibes. It's not even like
You don't even want to look.
your
like, oh,
whole body goes into a state that you're not even sure what's
and
happening.
It takes the energy out of the room.
Yeah.
You know? And like I've noticed that. Like you don't need someone who's crushing. You just need someone who can keep it like this. That's all I want. Keep it like this. Keep it
They're
normal.
they're buying us a drink first before you come in and
Yeah, I want you to actually be a host. Like, yeah, listen, but go up there and just make people comfortable. You know what I mean? Talk about whatever.
well, Nick is great.
Well, Nick is hilarious.
Hopefully he stays. He doesn't sustain any injury.
I know. Hopefully he doesn't need surgery, but he's fucking amazing, and he's been in the game for a long time, so it's super beneficial for me because I have somebody who's been doing this for a very long time, who understands things on a level that I don't.
Yeah.
And he's open and honest with me, and he appreciates me.
Yeah.
Which is cool. You know, a lot of these guys aren't like that. You know, their egos kind of get in the way, so it's like they've been doing it for so long, so it almost like hurts their feelings. Like this fucking kid, like I want what this kid had, but I've been doing it for a year. And Nick isn't like that.
Yeah.
You know, Nick comes into it like, this is amazing, bro, and you're fantastic, and he was the first comedian to do that, and I was like, you know what, like I want this guy to be close to me. You know,
I love that.
Yeah.
So like, talk a little bit about the transition from like your entire life, you're a cop.
Yeah.
And then
it was brutal. The transition itself was absolutely brutal because the job hated my social media.
Oh, yeah.
And they were very annoying about it, and it was very difficult because when I was getting ready to leave,
I'm surprised even that you're Did they make it like a security thing? Because
they tried to they say there's a social media policy, right? But I wasn't violating it. The social media policy pretty much states like you can't embarrass the department.
Got it.
So anything in uniform or anything like that. But I had never made any videos documenting that I was a cop for that reason, because I didn't want to violate the social media policy. But they still didn't like it. You know what I mean? So, and then eventually when it was time to leave, I remember, trying to get the union was very, the union is supposed to be, it's a membership. They're supposed to be the ones protecting you. And unfortunately, this department is so corrupt that these people, they actually make the decisions, So I was eligible for retirement in the state of New York. It's 5 years. I was supposed to get a retired ID and a shield.
Is that what it's 5? You have to work 5 years?
You have 5 years to retire in the state of New York as a police officer.
Wait, so you only have to be a police officer for 5 years?
Yeah, but you're not going to get any your pension's going to be gone, but you're going to get an ID that says you were a police officer.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you get a letter that's called a good guy letter. And the letter itself just states that you left in good standing. Got it. Right? And I did. I never got any write-ups. I was a good cop. Yeah. I never had any issues. Yeah. But when it was time for me to leave, the union, they look down upon what you do. Oh, what do you think? You're going to be famous? It's a lot of old school Italian guys that are like, they don't understand social media. They don't understand what I created. Right. I wasn't trying to be famous. Right. I'm quitting. I already made it happen, bro. Right. You know what I mean? I'm touring the country.
But think about it, like, just for a second. Like, if you're getting, like, if you have to do something, were you interacting with people?
Yeah, people were stopping me in the middle of a rest sometimes.
Kevin, they know you. That becomes a whole thing. You can't. It interferes a little bit with you doing your job, no?
No. Yes, but that wasn't their worry.
Right. Oh, got it.
That's not what their worry was. Their worry was just embarrassing.
Yeah, machismo.
Yeah. So
you can't be bigger than that.
When I asked to retire, I said, "Listen, I want to retire." Like, they just fucked me the whole way, and it was so frustrating because I had spoke to other departments in New York and tried to get the rules and really tried to line up like what was right and what was wrong. And they just gave me the runaround. The whole department, the whole agency just gave me the runaround. It was brutal, and I had like stomach pains for months when I quit. But what it did show me was this wasn't meant to be. Yeah. Right? I no longer wanted to be a police department. I no longer wanted to be associated with these people. And look, man, there's a lot of really good cops there and stuff like that. But as far as like management and like the union itself and they suck. It was absolutely brutal.
Did you have support from like was Nikita supportive? Was there a lot of opposition? Like, dude, don't quit this stable, steady job.
Well, yeah, everybody's telling you like you're crazy, bro. You're crazy. My wife, she's watched me create all this, so she's like, look, I trust you. Like you've done something amazing. Like, do it. So I left, and best decision I ever made. Like,
dude, how many followers do you have on TikTok?
1.7 million.
And you have almost 1 million on Instagram, which Instagram's the harder one to get. Yeah. Like, I think those numbers, I like to times Instagram by 4 because it's so much harder to accumulate numbers on Instagram.
Yeah.
So like that number is impressive.
Yeah.
How do you are you always in your DMs? Like, how do you balance your like online life with regular life?
I try to be, well, now they're kind of intertwined, you know, like.
Do you answer all your, do you?
Not all, but I try.
No, but I'm saying, do you do it or do you have someone who does it?
No, I do.
Oh.
I do it. Yeah. I feel like you kind of need to. That's why these people feel so close to me, because a lot of them I have conversations with.
I know.
And I'll just, talk about whatever.
Yeah,
You know
I'm
what
the
I
same
mean?
way. I like to engage with people. If they're not shitheads, I like to engage with them. And also, you want to know who these people are. They care about what you do because they care about you.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
That's what sells the tickets.
Yeah.
And also because you're good at what you do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know.
So are you always in your DMs? Does everybody hate you? Does your family hate you? Does your wife hate you? Because
No, everybody.
Everybody hates me.
I do spend a lot of time on my phone. I'm trying to figure out, like, there has to be some sort of. But I'm on a path. I feel like I can't really slow down right now. So it's like a lot of this is just super necessary. And I have to keep doing it. If you want longevity, like these are things you got to put in the work. And you got to work always, even when you're, when you think it's I can relax.
Because a lot of people think they're above the DMs.
Well, most people do.
I
People
know.
don't comment in the comments, and
I know. I see that.
Yeah,
I think we are not like that.
No.
Like, I think that's so important. It's such an important aspect.
Yeah,
I
you
think
gotta
it's the
communicate.
longevity you're talking about. You can get fame and ignore half the people or ignore most of the people in the short while.
Yeah.
But I think it screws you on the back end.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, because they don't have that personal relationship with you, which is necessary,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you're going to be doing you're going to be all around doing this until like or till you get them producing. Are you going to always want to do stand up?
Yeah, I'll do it forever, man.
Yeah.
I think it's been therapeutic for me, and maybe slow down on it eventually, but I think I'll always keep this in my toolbox and use this. Who could, look, life is short. You could, I know that personally. So like, for me, it's just, I'm going to have fun and not put, I found something that I love to do that I'm good at, and it makes me feel good, so I'm going to go with it until I can't anymore,
Yeah. Do you get your ideas mostly just from observational stuff happening in your life, or do you have a system for do you sit and write, like take time, sit and write?
So so sometimes you'll have like writer's block, but a lot of times it just pops in my head. I'm like, oh shit, that's a good idea. Let me write it down.
Yeah.
And I'll write it down quickly. That's normally my process. But if I'm having a hard time thinking about stuff, I'll watch videos. But I'm very big on like, I won't do videos that other people have done. So I make sure, like, if I'm watching something, I see something, it's like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of cool. Like, how can I change that up and make it better and make it more aligned to me? So I'll do, I'll look at a lot of memes.
That's a hard task to make content that no one's making right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
especially now the couple scene is like a lot of
super oversaturated.
People see the success and they're like, oh,
yeah, I'm gonna do that, and now everybody does it. When I first started, I can confidently say nobody was doing the type of stuff I was doing. Now a lot of people are doing it where they're
they see a formula.
They're jumping in on it where it's like but I didn't see it much, maybe a few, but not very many. And now a lot lot of people are doing it. But at the end of the day, like that's cool. Like
let them try. Everyone deserves a shot. It'll be sink or swim.
Yeah,
Do you think did the writer's strike did the writer's strike affect you at all, or maybe even an advantage? Like,
no, I'm well. Let's see. If I get something now, if I get something now that everything's opened up, I'm hoping. Look, the reality is like you have to find somebody who believes in you, who says like, I think this kid can do it, and he can do what he does on camera on his phone, and I'm confident he could do that on the big screen. But you have to find somebody who believes in you, who says, and I have people who believe in me, and I'm hoping through, because doing these shows is important too. You meet a ton of people, and they're like, yo, he's, they talk about you, and he's doing well, and you're hoping someone hears it and says like, look, you got to do something with this kid, and hopefully someone will give me the opportunity, because I thrive in those moments. Like I want someone to be like, all right, man, like we're gonna give you a shot. Show us what you got,
You're really good at doing uncomfortable things, like even just showing up online, even exposing your family, writing material, busting your ass all the time. Now you're taking to stages like new cities, strange cities.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Like, are some people just born able to run toward things that scare them? Because you do uncomfortable, scary shit all the time, and some people will never, not even. And you're doing it constantly all day. Like last night you did something, and then today. Do you ever get tired of doing the shit that scares you?
No, I feel like it's also a skill,
Right?
Event that you work on. You know what I mean? And because there's definitely been times where I've been like in uncomfortable positions where I'm like, I know I'm not hiding it well. You know, I think it's a tool. You have to kind of like sharpen your sword and do it more. And the more you do it, like comedy is crazy because like this leg of the tour, like it's the show after show after show. By the end of the show, you're floating up there. You know, you're really just doing it because you're doing it so much.
Right.
But now I'll go 2 weeks with no show. Let's just say like I do a whole month of shows and 2 weeks no shows. When you get back, I'll say, do you feel like you feel like
totally
you haven't been on there forever?
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it's a weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic. Like you want to do it enough. Like you want to do enough shows where you're doing well, you're getting yourself out there, you're mastering your craft. But I don't want to do too many because I know how important it is to ground myself and my family and be home and be present. Because the reality is like you start spending all this time away, eventually it's gonna affect your marriage. And
of course, but also like road life is hard.
Tough.
Sleeping in strange places.
Very tough in these hotels and it's very expensive and you're spending a lot of money. I don't think people realize how much money we're spending. If you have an opener and you're paying for their travel and this and that, becomes very expensive.
Oh my God,
and I'm not staying in like 5-star hotels,
right?
You know what I mean?
Well, not yet.
But
I see that for you.
Me too. I hope so too.
Do you think that men have an edge in comedy? Like, do you think like what's
sure?
I
mean,
why do people hate female comedians?
No, I don't think it's a hate. If I'm
don't you? But don't you?
I think it's like totally subjective. Like, look, I'm gonna be totally honest. I haven't watched a ton of female comedians.
Okay, so
but it's not something I've been
why
drawn to. I don't know. It's just
because girls aren't funny.
It's not like I'm fully avoiding. No, there's.
Are you saying that girls aren't funny?
No, girls are funny. Don't put me in that position. What the fuck? You're gonna get me canceled here.
No. But you're like, I don't even really watch a lot of female. No, comics.
I don't.
No one does.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely easier to be a comic as a man for sure. It's definitely harder to be a female.
Why do you think it's easier as a man to be a comic? Because it's easier as a man to do anything?
I think to be up there and especially if you're like a good looking woman and if you're up there, I think that's fucking difficult because people look at you they look at you different. They're like, wow, she's very attractive. I don't really care what's going on.
Now I care not right.
You know what I mean? So I would imagine that shit is hard. But there's a ton of fucking female comedians who are crushing it now.
Okay, so I did this exercise at dinner last night when we were on our way to do your show. And I was like, hey, guys, like outside of like, let's say Chelsea Handler or like Eliza Schlesinger, like who are the big female alive now, like doing well in the comedy
scene? A lot
of
the social media female, there's
That's
the
true.
giggle.
That's true. There's a lot of like social media females,
and they'll do like live comedy podcasts and shit like that. And
what's a live comedy podcast?
Well, it's a podcast similar to this, but it's on stage, and they're just talking shit the whole time. And these people, they have a cult-like following. You know what I mean? So they'll sell out theaters.
Yeah.
Of people coming to watch their podcast, which is amazing.
I guess I still don't even think about like social media personalities as like legitimate comedians, but they are legitimate comedians.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going up there, you're selling tickets and you're not bombing, you're
a comic.
You're a comic,
Wow, that's just interesting. I guess that's the element that women have it harder because if you get up on stage, you're immediately objectified, and so the words are less important or less focused on.
Yeah, 100%.
You need to change that up.
Yeah, well, maybe you could change it.
So. It's been mentioned that like people are like you should try some improv. Like just try
Why
it.
not?
Just do it because I'm terrified.
Yeah, but so what? At least you do it once. You do it once, and you're like, "Fuck this! I'm never gonna do it again." At least you know.
That's what he said. He's like, just do an open mic night. Just go like.
See how it feels, and don't expect don't look at it like if I go up there and I don't like if people aren't barely laughing. No, just go up there and remain comfortable for 5 minutes. Yeah. And if you can do that. Even if there's like very little laughter, if you can go up there and be comfortable for 5 minutes, like that's amazing. Because most people can't. Because when you get up there, you're instant like so much adrenaline. Like a lot of people just forget. Yeah, and it's like
that would be me.
But then you talk into it, and the hearing that, and like looking at the face, it could be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like I have to do it before I die.
You have to do it.
But it will be terrifying.
Yeah, you have to do it. And you have to do it soon. Pull the trigger. Just do it.
I know.
Otherwise, you'll never
I'll
do it.
never
You'll
do
be
it.
like, I'll do it next year. I'll do, you know.
No, I have to do it now.
Do it
like,
now.
while I'm still like a little bit hot. I
Yeah,
don't think
do
I
it-
could do
do it.
comedy as like an old person.
And you're around all the clubs. You could just
I know.
go to one. Go to one. Do an open mic night.
Okay, so like we know that your next thing is probably going to be producing and maybe starring.
Hopefully.
Let's just put that out in the universe.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
your next
Put it out
thing.
there. I like it.
I really, really loved your show. I thought you were just phenomenal. We laughed a lot. We laughed a lot.
No, I appreciate
You do a
it.
good job.
Thank you.
So, your Instagram handle's Only Raising Kings.
NYC, yeah. Only Raising Kings.
Oh,
NYC.
it's that's right. That's why I'm always like trying to find you. Okay, Only Raising Kings NYC.
On everything.
Everywhere across the. And do you have a YouTube presence as well?
I have a YouTube. It's Only Raising Kings Media. We have a podcast that I had a podcast. It's a successful podcast for a while.
Right, I know. So you're not doing that anymore?
No, egos got involved and they stopped. They didn't want to do it anymore, unfortunately. Well, that's what happens. But look, they fucked up. Okay, because I was right before I quit my job and right before my big really.
What do you think that it would be beneficial to have like a large Instagram personality on your podcast?
That's not the way. Some guys they're ego guys. That's exactly what it is. It's men.
Yeah.
And it's I think some people had the idea like they want what their success look like in their head, and he didn't want his success to be based off of my success. I think he wanted his own. Like I want to do this on my own. Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah.
Good luck with your 14 views.
Yeah, that's me. No.
No, stop.
No,
but you do well.
Well, I mean, it's I think everyone's aims and objectives are different. You really have something you want to reach toward that you're going for it. Like you're really like, you knew that comedy was in your blood, in your bones. You knew you wanted to do this, and you moved with that knowing. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why you've had success. Like you didn't get sidetracked. You stayed in your lane. Yeah. Like we actually just talked before off air. Like I mentioned something about like current geopolitics. We're not going to touch it. But like, and you're like, the lane that you stay in. You don't try and I also notice you never really talk shit about other people. You don't really, I mean, outside of this entire podcast, you haven't talked shit about. No, but like online, you really don't. You mostly keep it like pretty like kosher as far as like your family. Like you're not talking shit about other people, and you probably could. Like you just said, nobody supported you on the way. Like people are not supporting you. And
I feel like it brings more stress onto me.
Yeah.
It's.
What do you encounter when you say like people have not been like? I said, were people helpful when you were breaking into the comedy scene? Like
no, I think you get a lot of comedians who look at you and they're envious, and they won't admit that obviously. But they'll say things like, you do really well up there, but you're not, it's not really stand up. You're more of like, you just kind of go up there and talk shit. What are you talking about, dude? You know what I mean? You're creating these boundaries in your head that don't really exist. Right. When in reality, you're just mad because you can't sell tickets, which I'm not that kind of guy. So like, even when they say shit like that, I'm just like, oh yeah, no, I get it, man. Like I'm very just whatever, bro. Like, but I see you, I read you, like, Right. And I try to be respectful and try to be decent because I am new to the game and be, respectful to guys who, paved the way and shit like that. But the reality is like, if you're going to be disrespectful, like eventually I'm,
Yeah, you're dead to me.
Yeah, and that's it.
Who are your comedy icons that you look up to that like, these are your greats? Like if you could end up there, like as them.
So Bernie Mac, it's probably my favorite comedian of all time. Just everything he's done, on the TV side, the film side, stand up. He was like this.
I don't know Bernie Mac.
No? Oh man.
How do I know him maybe by video and not by name?
You definitely know who he is. Yeah. Guys, legends, Dave Chappelle, Joe Coy, a lot of these guys that, have been crushing it for so long. Even like watching Joe, like when I opened for him in Pennsylvania, and I just sit there and it's like in awe watching him. He's just such a pro. Yeah. And you watch some shit like that and you're just like, damn. Like, I really got to step up my shit.
What's his style? Is it more just like all over the place?
He's just a beast. He was up there for 90 minutes just crushing, absolutely crushing. I was like, this is mad.
Does 45 minutes feel like 45 minutes or does it feel shorter when you're up there?
No, it kind of feels shorter, to be honest.
That's what I'm thinking, because the way you were flowing last night didn't feel like it was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But but there's so much airtime to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, it is a long time, but like you know, you do it like you said, it's like muscle memory. So like you do it so much, you kind of just so focused on like everything that you don't even worry about the time necessarily.
Yeah,
You're
when I
just
saw
like,
you before the show, you were were you, what were you? You were in like
yeah, I'm like a
you were in a
trance.
state. You were in a trance-like
Yeah,
state.
yeah.
What is that state for you?
It's just like just trying to like ground myself before I hop on stage. Because once you get on stage like that, that's it. You got to be lively, you know.
What's your little what's your little word? What's your little thing you say?
Well, you know, I say a prayer, and every show is pretty much the same. I say a prayer with my family beforehand. I say a prayer with Nick before we go on stage. Then I do like something by myself right before I get on stage, and then I go on. Yeah, it's like a tradition.
Are people gonna find out that you're a softie now?
I hope not. I hope not.
Thank you so much for doing this with me today.
This is amazing.
I appreciate it, and
Yeah.
like, and I didn't know if you were gonna be able to like keep it. I was
did.
like,
I
and
kept
you
it
get,
nice.
I'm
I kept it
shocked.
good.
I'm shocked
See?
that you did.
See, I'm a
But I
pro.
was like I was like, if he starts to go off the rails, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Because you know my squeaky clean
No,
brand.
for sure. Yeah, no, for sure.
But I appreciate your time so much,
Thank you.
and everyone's got to go see Kevin. He's amazing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.